Hi there, I'm Jackie Court, and today I'm joined by Monika Tupholme, who is a functional nutrition and fitness health expert. So Moni's been working in the women health space for the past 25 years, especially dealing with women in their 40s, where we seem to hit the skids and run into a whole host of problems like a slowed down metabolism, hormone confusion, and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. So Moni, I'm really glad that you and I are chatting on this fun little series that we're doing called Speaking from the Gut. I've recently learned a lot as I've gone through my adventures through early menopause and everything that comes with that, and finding that my body doesn't feel balanced, finding that I don't feel mentally sane or sound.
You're not alone, sister. You are not alone in that feeling.
I'm really hoping you're going to help bring my memory back. So what I'm curious about, Moni, is I've recently seen this documentary on Netflix about gut health and how the gut is kind of our second brain, which is really kind of creepy and weird, but I'm totally interested and I want to know more. And I think, as I've learned a lot of information recently about CBD oil and how it interacts with our endocannabinoid system, I realize more and more that we're ignoring some of the critical areas of our health, and not because we don't want to pay attention, but because we actually don't understand gut function, how it works, why it's important, how we need to nurture it, and how it ties in with our hormones. So I'm going to turn it over to you, our resident expert, to give us a little bit of the scoop on what our gut is and what's going on with it.
I love it. I love that we're actually talking about this post long weekend here in Canada, right?
Yes, family day weekend when I actually had the family flu go through my house. Good time to talk about gut health.
Oh, perfect. So let's start off really with what the gut is. And people say gut, people say microbiome is a trending word right now, which is actually the more scientific way to describe our digestive tract and our digestive system. Okay. But really, this is a system as we know it from our high school biology class that takes in food, breaks it down, and disperses it in nutrients to different organs, and then pulls out the waste, right, for the rest. What science is showing, and what you watched in that Netflix documentary, which is amazing.
Yeah, that was really good, very informative.
So informative is that we already know that about 70% of our immunity, so our overall health, begins with our gut. And a lot of people are like, what, really? Yes. So now research is showing that there's actually more of what we call that second brain. There is a gut-brain axis that we know about already that controls certain feelings and emotions that we may have. So for example, you may have felt this, if you're nervous or anxious, you might not feel like a Big Mac combo or salad. You don't feel like eating, right?
Yeah,
that anxious feeling. And basically it's your gut telling your brain, whoa, we do not want to be digesting anything right now because we need to conserve energy because we're in a stress response. We're stressing out about something in our lives. And let's be real, our 40s is a stressful time. We have a lot of stuff on our plate as women. Our hormones and everything's going crazy, right?
Yes.
So we're feeling that stress in different ways. And I think that's why a lot of women, and let me know if you've ever experienced this, come to me saying, I used to be able to eat this and be fine with it, and now I can't.
Yeah.
Why do I feel bloated and heavy all the time? It's that microbiome, right? It's that.
So what, is it changing, you mean? Or
it changes a lot because it's dealing with stress. So what happens, it's funny because though our digestive system talks directly with our central nervous system, that's why we get those feelings of anxiousness and our digestion slows down and we don't have that urge to eat. But it's also part of the ENS system, the enteric nervous system, I always say it wrong, which actually has more nerve endings in it than our central nervous system, which a lot of people don't know.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that helps us secrete enzymes to help break down our food. It helps regulate hormones. It actually helps produce estrogen in our gut. Oh. So when that gets sort of out of whack and it feels things. Like, it's not intuitive thought. It's not going to book our restaurant for us and pick a, what we want at the grocery store, but it does give us that sense of feeling. And that's what research and scientists are really diving into with that whole, the gut brain axis.
Right.
So especially in our 40s, things that we're doing, nutrition is obviously the biggest one, right? Like the processed foods and the, I call them not real food, not food that lives and dies, puts extra stress on our digestive system and our microbiome. Stress is a big one, puts stress on our microbiome. Environmental pollutants and toxins that it's a part of life and we have it every day in our environment, stresses it out. So then that intact biome that we love, that houses all that amazing good bacteria that help our immunity, that regulate our hormones, produce vitamins, do all these things, breaks. And that's why, have you ever heard of leaky gut?
Yes, I have. That's the grossest word I've ever heard, by the way.
The grossest word. So what leaky gut is basically when that biome is not intact anymore and the little threads in the lining they get little perforations and holes through it. So instead of our digestive system ridding those toxins and flushing out it as waste, it leaks into our bloodstream, causing that inflammation. So that's why people get that inflammatory response, even to some foods that they'd be able to digest. We were able to digest no problem in our 20s and 30s. We can't now because our body is working so hard to, heal the leaky gut or deal with the stress or deal with other things. It can't break things down.
Okay, so how do you know if you have leaky gut?
Inflammation is the biggest one in food aversions. Diarrhea is big. But definitely, I have a friend that I work with very closely that she just deals 100% in gut health. So people that have severe IBS, pooping their pants, or they don't poo all week, that kind of thing. And she'll deal with the leaky gut because everyone's symptoms kind of show up a little bit different. Inflammatory response is huge, right? And then you get that slow and sluggish feeling, mood swings even, intolerances to food.
Okay. All right.
It's not intuitive. It's not something that someone can sit there and go, yes, I have leaky gut. You kind of have to work with an expert to sort of dive through and see what's happening there. But it's the same as like sort of the candida thing, right? Some people are like, I think I have candida. Well, go to a specialist, go to someone that works in that field to really dive into your lifestyle, your activity level, your health history, all that stuff that can sort of say, yes, I think you have candida. I think you may have leaky gut. And here's a protocol that will help you heal it.
Okay. That's good to know because I bet you there's so many times as a woman, like when you're especially when you're going through hormonal changes or, a lot of stress and anxiety, you tend to blame your gut just thinking, like you said, it's nerves, it's stress and anxiety, but you don't know that you don't have something like leaky gut. So it is really critical to pay attention to your gut. And that expression, I always tell my daughter this, when you get that sort of sixth sense in your gut, something's not right, and I use this for stranger danger with her, but also just in friendships, if you're feeling like something's a little bit off, you got to listen to your gut. And it's funny because this is like, not to go off topic here, but listening to your gut is something as women we had beaten out of us as kids. We were people pleasers, set the table, get everything ready for company, make your company feel special, make your friends feel special. You're the host, your guests, you do what they want. Like, I just feel like for so long as a child, we were taught to ignore our gut in order to make other people happy. And, ignoring our gut is the biggest mistake we can make because it's such a critical indicator for us. And I don't mean just emotionally, but, safety wise, it's obviously very primitive that we would be listening to our gut for issues of danger. But now it's a health related issue and we have ignored it. I mean, I personally have. I take a probiotic now because you told me to, not because I ever thought to do it. Candida, having even your system thrown off by too much dairy, etc. It's really hard unless you're documenting everything you eat, when you eat it, what happens to your body. And I'm terrible at following up on any of that. It's hard to know what's going on. So we tend to blame a temporary situation, a flu, a virus, I'm
Yeah.
stressed. But really, it's overall gut health that we
It's
need.
overall gut health, which is so multifaceted. And it's way more what we typically think of it as just bloating or, like the constipation or diarrhea. Like you said, there's intuitive parts to it
Yeah.
with what's just happening in our day-to-day lives. Yes, a lot of it is the nutrition that we're having and what we are consuming 100%. But you nailed it on the head. It's that stress response. It's that ignoring. And now science is coming out and showing, like, we can't ignore what our gut is telling us. It has more nerve endings than our central nervous system. It feels.
Yeah.
Your gut feels for you. And it's like you said, there's a survival response to that. So we just have to be conscious of it as women.
Well, it's funny, like when I've learned a lot about cannabis and tinctures and, just how cannabis can help. And when we speak about women's sexual health, we talk about, finding a lube or creating a lube with some THC in it, because our uterus has more receptors than anywhere else in our body. Like, that's something I had no idea about. I thought that was the dead zone.
Right? A lot of us do. And feeling about those receptors, like a lot of people don't know that 90% of our serotonin, so which is our feel-good hormone, that's what gives us the lift and the highs, is produced in our gut.
Actually didn't know that.
Yes. So when our gut is under that distress, automatically we feel the blues, we feel heavy, we self-loathe a little bit, maybe we'll food shame, we do all these things because our body's just working so hard to heal other things. It's not producing that serotonin.
Right?
That
Interesting. So, I mean, the first thing that, we'll go to is Dr. Google and then our doctor. And then next thing you know, we're on something like Cipralex or something to get us through the blues. Depression is common with menopause. It's, part of having a baby, postpartum. And, when you think about it, when you have a baby, I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely was not eating properly. I was nursing and
survival.
I was eating like chunks of cheese or whatever was in the fridge just to like keep going. So naturally your gut health is being compromised and you're not getting any sleep and you have a newborn. So you're stressed. And yet how many doctors or societies say, oh, you must have postpartum. I mean, I was diagnosed with postpartum. It's the most ridiculous thing. I mean, I was put on an antidepressant and which was really not great it didn't react well with my body, but my daughter didn't sleep more than 2 hours at a time for 15 months. Like, I was tired.
What else are you supposed to feel?
Exactly. I wasn't feeling extreme joy and not sleeping and not eating properly. But, if I had known back then, I would have maybe taken a little extra care and thought, oh, instead of going on an antidepressant, I could look into ways of naturally increasing my serotonin levels, to help me out a little more or pay a little more attention to what's happening in my body. It's obviously not good news. So yeah, that's interesting. I wish I knew that.
Totally is. So a big question I get asked a lot is people are like, well, okay, this is great, but then what do I do? Like,
yes,
where do I
that
start?
would be my next question.
Right? What do we do? First thing, 100%, you need to hit the nail on the head. It is nutrition, right? Nutrition plays a huge role. And I think we know that. So focusing on real food, I always say, people always ask me, like, are you keto? Are you paleo? Are you all these things? I'm like, I'm real food. I'm food that lives and dies.
Yeah.
And really focusing on that. And yes, we're in an age where packaged and processed foods are part of our reality for convenience, but being mindful of it and looking for ones that have ingredients that we can actually have in our kitchen and make at home.
Yeah.
Because our body doesn't know what a Ritz cracker is.
Mine does now.
Right? So for Jack, but it has to work extra hard to break that down and to figure out, okay, what nutrients am I pulling out of this? What can we use? What do we have to get rid of? What's not real? Right? So anything that's going to cause a little bit of inflammation and stress in that whole digestive system and GI tract might be something simple as the processed food. So eating real food is number one. and making sure that you're consuming enough water. Many women, we think we're getting enough water. We have the old school way of 10 years ago, people saying, you know, drink 8 glasses of water a day, which is not relative to size. So it doesn't really make sense. So a good rule of thumb that I tell people is half your body weight in ounces, figure out what that is. And that's your minimum per day. More if you're in a warmer climate, more if you're working out, more if you're traveling. There's different variables there, but that's a good baseline.
Okay, that's good to know. Half your body weight in ounces.
In ounces a day.
Okay.
Because telling my 300-pound lineman client to drink 8 glasses of water versus you, 8 glasses of water, is not relative to your size, right? So we really want to make sure that we're consuming enough for our size. And then obviously it changes with your climate, environment, and activity level.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Number 2 is obviously the whole probiotic prebiotic talk, right? So the probiotic obviously feeds that good microbiome. It gives you those microbes that your body uses, the good bacteria for your immunity, helps level out your inflammation, your blood sugar, produces vitamins. Like there's so many benefits I think we all know of having a probiotic. You can get it through a supplement form for sure. Make sure it's a live probiotic. I usually say at least 12 billion or higher. If you're a female in her 40s. You'll see up there, it says it's colony forming unit. So it'll be like 12 billion CFUs. That's what you want to look for.
Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. That's really gross to me. Colonies in your gut. Live things that I have to put in my mouth and swallow. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think we need to touch that conversation. I realize I just set myself up really poorly there. Okay.
It's so good. It's so good. But it does help us. It helps us with those things, like I said, with our immunity and with digestion, and obviously helps even with the hormones. You can get it in food form. So like you said, the fermented foods, like your kimchis and your sauerkrauts. Kombucha is really big right now, very trendy. There's commercial kombucha out there, which is amazing. Please be careful of the sugar content. Some of it is more than a pop, which is a fermented tea, right, that they flavor. So if you have high sugar content, it's totally negating all the benefits of fermentation because the product really hasn't fermented yet. So 8 grams of sugar or less per serving. And be careful how many servings are in the jar. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. But those are great sort of natural probiotics that I think everyone should be having just naturally, as well as the supplementation form. And then a lot of people don't talk about is the prebiotic. So that is what your probiotic, those healthy little colonies in your gut, are going to feed off of it. What they're going to feed off of, right? Okay. So having foods, you can get prebiotics in the supplement form. I think it's a little bit overkill. A lot of our food naturally has it in it. Like a lot of our leafy dark greens have natural prebiotics in it already. So making sure like we're incorporating our veggies and our plant-based items with every meal will definitely help. And that sort of feeds that probiotic, which is super, super important, right? If it has nothing to feed off of, it's just going to sit there and rock out in your tummy.
Back to the live colony again. Okay.
And then my last one would probably be fiber. So having good insoluble and soluble fiber, and that fiber helps slow down digestion. So it gives your body time to metabolize the food and to break it down and to figure out what's going on. And it also is sort of like that sieve that pushes out all the waste and gets everything out of our system. So making sure that we're having fiber-rich foods in our diet is also very important.
And also too, so my daughter is suffering from a bit of a focus issue at school, which is both common in her age group and a reason for concern. I personally, I would love to blame digital technology and social media for my lack of attention. But I think the reality is, if I look back, I've had this lack of attention for a long, long time. And then my husband and I did try keto for a few weeks, and it was great because I dropped a lot of weight, but you gain it back. Like any sort of diet, you have to make it a lifestyle or bust. But
Mm-hmm.
what we learned about keto, or my version, Cheeto, was because I would like save up my net carbs so I could have a glass of wine. But we learned where all the hidden sugars were, and they were everywhere, like everywhere. I'd be late for a meeting, I'd be starving, I would grab a scoop of peanut butter, and I'd look at the jar and go, wow, I just threw my whole body out of ketosis. There's sugar in this bloody peanut butter. Like, why is there sugar in peanut butter? But everywhere I go, like I went to get raw almonds from
Mm-hmm.
the store, and they have sugar in them. Why do raw almonds have sugar? So keto is really, really tricky to eat keto. But the more that we learned about it, the better we felt. We realized that sugar is the devil, as much as I love it. And my daughter, who, because of our conversation, I feel like I'm going to go steal her lunch back and repack it, because everything is processed, right? Like,
Right.
Stuff that you can send to school that can sit in a classroom all day and be okay to eat without going off is processed. So, we want to try taking her off sugar for a week to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I'm off sugar, I do have better focus, but I'm guessing sugar is one of the things that our gut does not respond well to.
It doesn't. And here's the thing with sugar. Sugar sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap because sugar, which is glucose, is actually our brain and our cells' most preferred source of energy. Is what it craves it.
Okay.
Where sugar gets the bad rap is in the delivery system and the nutritional component. So if it's not like a nice apple in the form of fructose sugar, right? And it's not in a proper delivery system, it's in something that's highly processed, candy, sweets, that 100% puts stress on our whole system. And your gut tries to metabolize it. It can't. It sends it all to your liver and other organs. And your liver's like, I've got way too much here. I'm just going to store it as fat later.
I'm still trying to do the bottle of wine from last night. Like, don't be throwing chocolate and candy at me now.
Yeah.
Not my gut, someone else's. Just
someone else's. But it's the delivery system with the sugar. And I always say to people, the inflammation response that sugar will give you, so you get that bloating in your gut and everything, is huge. And I know we're going to talk about sugar in another one of our little chats, but it definitely is one of those things that, besides the sugar high that we see from kids.
Yes. Real true story. That is a thing.
Right? It's a much deeper conversation, but you hit the nail on the head with just being smart about your sugar and what you're pairing it with. So having a sugar with a good, healthy fat is huge, because the fat helps stabilize the sugar being released into your bloodstream, sort of dials it down a little bit. So if someone has like a rice cracker, those rice crackers, they just have that. It's a carbohydrate, it's a glucose, it'll just hit your bloodstream like crazy. But if you put like a nice avocado on there or some almond butter, that healthy fat from the avocado or almond butter will help stabilize the sugar.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I do with going back to the kid conversation. That's what I did. And Jordan, my son, we took him off gluten. And I'm not going to jump down the gluten rabbit hole. It was just a family decision. He wasn't allergic to it. I just saw these sort of spikes and drops in his behavior. We were already pretty conscious about his sugar intake. So we just monitored his gluten, and it was a different kid within a week.
You're kidding.
So
we are gonna
the whole point, I think the conversation is 100% before you start getting into other realms, always start with nutrition and figuring out how that is, feeding your body, how you're reacting to different things. And I always say to people, don't try to eliminate everything at once, because then you don't know what the variable is that's causing it.
Of course.
Right?
Yep.
So just, starting with cutting down the sugar for sure, maybe limiting her carbohydrate intake. Like, it's very easy for kids to have like the bagel for breakfast, the muffin for lunch, pasta for dinner.
Yeah.
That carbohydrate is still a form of sugar. So
we do definitely try. Well, we'll definitely be having a conversation to follow up on that. I wanted, just like my last question is sort of more hormone related and the gut, because as someone, like I said, who went through early menopause, and I'm still experiencing menopause symptoms. I know a lot of my friends are starting to go through peri or through menopause yet. I'm
Mhm.
postmenopausal now. So how can we listen to our gut on things around our hormones like that might be helpful?
So as in,
Like
like, react.
how are our hormones impacted by our gut?
Oh, huge. So when your gut, like I already mentioned, serotonin and estrogen being semi-produced by different enzymes in our gut, right? So there's a correlation there. Estrogen, obviously huge, because we know the decline of estrogen as we start hitting 40s, right? And the
Yeah.
other ones come up. So it's always that balance, and it's that balance with our brain that sort of regulates the hormones. Our brain knows where there's stress. Our brain knows when there's external triggers that are causing inflammation, and then it'll send those hormonal signals out to
Right.
like our thyroid, our leptin, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, to balance and to carve out different things. It
Okay.
all goes back to that stress response in our gut. And if we don't have that nice little microbiome and house there to process everything fully right away, that gets a signal to our brain, and our brain starts releasing different hormones at different levels, and different triggers start
Okay.
happening, if that makes sense. It's a very elementary way of saying things, but it basically will throw your hormonal balance out of whack.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, because then you're triggering insulin to come in, and insulin, you have cortisol in there, which blocks our insulin, which
Yeah.
with our estrogen also, and our testosterone has. So they all work together, and it's all triggered from that access from our gut to our brain. And when
Right.
our gut's under that stress from either the food that we're eating, external stress, or the toxins, or whatever it may be, right away it goes a signal to our brain saying, okay, we need more of this hormone, we need less of this hormone, we need to do this.
Right.
Because our bodies always want to be in balance, even in the menopause. That's why we have menopause, right? It's
Yeah.
just, it's trying to create some kind, even though we were like giving it the middle finger and we don't believe it.
You can't see that. My hand's
It
down
is
here.
trying to get some balance in there.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. And there's nothing you can say like eat these certain foods, or the probiotic or this is going to help stabilize your estrogen. But what it will do is helping the root cause of that stress response in your gut, which
Okay.
will in turn help with the stabilization of your hormone levels.
Right. Okay. So
Right?
that's super important to know,
Mhm.
because I don't think, like, I never would have linked my hormones to my gut health.
No,
But
most
it's
women
like,
do not. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we think about, yeah, our nutrition and, our balance, but no, I certainly have never thought about it in those terms, but I'm going to now. Like, you've given some great tips earlier on gut health. Are there any tips that are specifically geared towards gut health and hormones that you would suggest?
I think consistency is the biggest one. So making sure that our nutrition and our blood sugar is stable. So we talked about sugar a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's that blood sugar and that instability in our gut, and our gut not to be able to process what we're intaking, that is going to send that whole imbalance signal off. So
Right.
it really starts with that. So foods that live and die, decreasing the processed foods, and the stress response. So it's sort of like the chicken and the egg when it comes to hormones, because it's
Yeah.
easy for me to tell you. It's like telling an insomniac to take a nap, It's
Yeah.
easy for me to tell you, like, don't stress, like, don't feel what you're feeling, but
Yeah.
you're feeling it.
Yeah.
So then you can get into external things like journaling, writing it down.
Yeah.
Exercise obviously is very important to decrease that stress response for your
Yeah.
hormones. But 100%, it starts with real food and decreasing the sugars and the processed foods,
Right.
especially now when we're older, because our system is a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah, for sure. And women complain that when you hit your 40s, they call it the middle age spread, you can't shed pounds as quickly.
Yep.
And I think that's why keto has been so successful, because you are shedding pounds quickly, but you
Mhm.
are doing it because you are pulling out like the sugar and the processed food. And, as much as like, a pure Puritan keto approach is really, really difficult,
Mhm.
is beneficial. It is successful in helping shed that weight, like to move
It
those
really
pounds.
is.
Yeah. And
It
like
really.
I would never be able to go back on keto full time. It's too hard. But we did take a lot of elements and learning from keto, and we are usually carb free during the week, and we cheat on the weekends. And it's helped, right? Like it just
Yeah.
really helps. And you notice when you reintroduce carbs, like processed carbs, how hard it is for your body to
Bloat up like a
tackle them.
pig.
Yeah, you eat. I mean, we go to a really great pasta restaurant, pizza restaurant, Queen Margarita. They use flour from Italy. There's no processed flour or wheat or anything. And so you eat, like pasta or pizza there, and you don't feel bloated after. And that's because you're not getting all of that processed crap in your body, right?
Totally. You've hit it. And I think the biggest thing for women have to figure, like, because I get asked all the time, do you recommend keto? Do you recommend paleo? Do you recommend like the microbiome diet? What do you recommend? And everything works to extent. It depends on the person.
Yeah.
So I have clients that are intermittent fasting. I have clients that are keto. I have clients that are paleo. I have clients that are Mediterranean diet, vegan, whatever. But the point is it has to work with your lifestyle, and it has to be a healing protocol, which I think a lot of time in our 40s, we focus on a diet protocol, but we have to focus on a healing protocol, getting to the root cause of why our bodies are maybe more bloated, why we're not digesting certain foods that we were before, how this helps in hormonal balance, like all these things, right? It's a healing protocol.
And also more, like it has to be, like you said, it's got to fit in with your lifestyle. Keto does not fit into ours. We're always on the go, and I'm not going to, put my daughter on keto. I'm not making 4 different meals. So, but it also has to be sustainable, right? So it has to be like a healing protocol and a lifestyle. I don't think it should be a diet anymore. I think we should look at lifestyle instead 100%. Of bad diets, like that you're just going to bounce back from anyway, right?
It's doing way more harm because you're causing that internal inflammation, that roller coaster again. Yeah, I always say this, I'm like, it has to be something that it fits into your lifestyle and you're not fitting your lifestyle into it.
Kind of like having a kid, right?
Right.
That was the biggest advice. Your child fits into your life. You don't fit into theirs. Yeah. I mean, that's
right.
For disaster.
And that's what makes it truly sustainable. And that's why there's no box solution for everyone. And I think there's always basis and principles that we can all follow 100%. Just like the whole gut talk like we're having here, like start with cleaning up your diet, start with taking a good probiotic, quality, good, 5-star rated, please, probiotic.
Do you have any
start by increasing your fiber. Pardon?
Do you have any recommendations for a probiotic that you would recommend? Like,
so Genuine Health has a really great one.
Genuine Health, okay.
That you can get at your local store. It's not in the fridge, it's on the stand, which is fine. It's in a tablet form. I do have a product partner in USANA that has one that's a powder, because I know some people are like, I can't take pills, I can't take tablets.
Yes.
So they're the only one I know right now that has a powder form that you can just mix in water or juice. I give that a lot to my kids.
All right.
Right, because I just that they can just down it and be done. But those are the 2 big ones that I've liked.
Okay.
So Genuine Health, You can look for, if you go to Consumer Lab Reports or Nutritional Research Guide, you just Google it, and it actually ranks all the nutritional supplements in North America. So you can see where your Jamesons and your Costco and all that hits on that scale. And a lot of times it's not very good. So be very conscious of that, right? Sometimes you have to, it's like hotels, you want 5-star.
They are live colonies after all.
Exactly. They're living in you. You want them to be good residents.
We got to find a new analogy for this. I can't handle this one. Monika, thank you. This has been amazing. This is the first in our series that Monika and I are going to be doing. Speaking from the gut. Gut health is really critical, especially for women in their 40s and 50s and onwards. Although, good gut health regimen should start early. But for those of us who didn't know beforehand, we're doing it now. I'm going to give some information on Monika. I'll put a link to your site and some information on Monika's background and just some of the things that we talked about in our video today. So Monika, I'm looking forward to our next episode. We are going to tackle sugar, and we're going to be tackling quite a few other things that are directly related to gut health what's damaging your gut health and how to fix it and things you need to know.
Yes, we dove into a lot today, but it was super fun.
Yeah, it was. This is a really interesting
value.
topic. I feel there's hope when I hear that, oh yeah, there is a way to turn these mood swings around, these blues, this bloated feeling, whatever. Like, it's great to know that there is help that we can do. We can look after ourselves as opposed to, you know, popping a pill, taking an opioid, whatever.
Yeah, switching the conversation from focusing from what's going wrong here to what's going wrong down there.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got not down there with your gut.
No, we're not going down there yet. We're gonna keep it in the mid zone.
Yeah.
Monika, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you for our next episode.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too.